What if I told you that right now you could build a gaming PC for under $800 with a modern video card that plays games at 60 frames per second? And we're talking about AAA titles. Would you believe me? Well, you can, because Intel just released the B580 Battlemage for $250. And I'll show you some of the reviews that YouTubers are already giving it. This card is a killer card at $250. It's outperforming AMD's 7600, which is I think a $300 card, give or take, $280. It's outperforming Nvidia's 4060, which is a $300 video card. And it's even in some cases keeping up with Nvidia's 4060 Ti, which is a $450 video card. And this is all for $250. And this is making building gaming computers on a budget in 2024 going into 2025 very, very possible. So let's check this stuff out. If we scoot over here to the other screen, and what you're going to see is that every reviewer on YouTube is giving this card a thumbs up. They're all raving about it. Gamers Nexus, PC Centric, Linus Tech Tips, Jay's 2 Cents, Gamers Nexus, Hardware Unboxed, you name it. They're all Paul's Hardware. Every single one of them. They absolutely love what Intel is doing here. So if we go ahead and watch, we're gonna go ahead and watch some of the stuff that Linus put out. I've already watched this video in full. Actually, I was kind of pre-watching some of it, and they do a great job giving some metrics as to what it's doing in some of these games. So we're gonna start it from the beginning, and we'll play it from the top. And then what we're gonna also do is I'm gonna switch over in a few minutes over to PC Part Picker and show you how we can build a PC with this video card for under $700, right? I mean, it's quite amazing. And by the way, this is a computer that, again, will play modern AAA titles at 60 frames per second in a lot of cases on 1080p. And with good graphics, not turned down all the way, by the way. So let's take a look at what Linus has to say, and we'll kind of go from there.
I can't believe it. After Nvidia and AMD just completely abandoned the sub $300 price point, or gave us intentionally nerfed options, Intel has finally done it. They released the first good budget GPU in over 5 years. It doesn't cut.
And when they're talking about the best gaming GPU in 5 years for a budget is, I think, the last video card that people really thought was a good value. You have to go all the way back to the Nvidia 1660. That was like the last one that people really thought had good value for budget. Everything else since then, especially since COVID hit, prices went haywire. We all know what happened.
Any corners. It's got 12 gigs of VRAM, which means that new games like Indiana Jones will run properly. It's relatively efficient, and best of all, it's got raw performance that beats the RTX 4060 handily at both 1080p and 1440.
Look at that. I mean, it's kicking its butt, and it's got 4 more gigs of VRAM, which obviously is going to play well into your future titles and keeping this video card relevant for longer too.
40p. If I had scripted Intel's press conference for this thing, it probably would have gone something like this.
49.
It's been a difficult journey to get here for Team Blue. Their first generation had
and that references, I believe, Sony announcing the PS2 at $299.
Famously buggy drivers, with some games running poorly, or even not at all, which led to such low sales figures that the department has been the subject of near constant speculation that it would be cut.
Yeah, and I would have loved to have purchased one of the original A-series cards last year or 2 years ago when Intel put them out, but I didn't have, it would have had to be my main video card. I wouldn't have had a secondary video card. I think this would have been a fun video card to play around with when they first came out for the Archmage series a couple years ago, but that video card was known to have driver issues. It'd have been fun to support them getting into this field, but I'm glad to see they've made a lot of improvements, as we're going to find out here with Battlemage.
But believe it or not, they have squashed most of the bugs. Most of them. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
First,
nothing's ever
the
perfect.
TLDR. Last time, we asked viewers to consider buying Intel Arc because we were desperate for them to emerge as a disruptor in the GPU duopoly. This time, we're asking you to consider Intel Arc because it's freaking awesome, to the point where I would say that it is the only choice for gamers who want to spend $450 to $700 on a tower, or for those folks.
Yeah, so $450 to $700. I've looked at the parts, and again, we'll review that. You can definitely get down in price if you want to find used parts. You can definitely probably get more closer to that $500 range. But realistically, if you're going to be putting a computer together, and we can do both an Intel and Nvidia build, I'm sorry, Intel and AMD build, you're probably looking at closer to $650, $700 realistically with new parts.
Folks who have waited so patiently for an upgrade to their faithful GTX 1660 or 10 series.
Yep,
It's
there you
time
go.
to bag up that old GPU. Wait, don't throw me out yet. Let me out. Oh no. Sell to our sponsor, Java, instead.
Why let your old hardware
I love that he's in a Costco box too. Before we watch this Java commercial, because but watch this. He's let's see if we can go back and watch this. Costco. Costco box.
Java instead.
Why let your old hardware collect dust when it can collect cash? Check out Java below and get an extra $10 on top of your base offer until the end of this year.
All right, so speaking of Java, I want to take a moment. I tried to go look at Java for video cards. I wanted to see what they had on there. And unless I'm crazy, I didn't see that many GPUs. I thought I would have seen more than this. 155 listings. I guess I would have expected as much as they're advertising with so many influencers that they would have had quite a lot larger inventory. But if I try 16 gigs and 12 gigs of memory, because again, we wouldn't want to buy something too old, I'm left with 15 listings. And then even then, you know, not all these prices are spectacular. I mean, they want $440 for a 4060 Ti, which is kind of silly because that's practically a brand new price. But I'm guessing there's some good deals to be had here and there when you can grab one on here. But this is wild. Look at this. A 3060 is $300. We just mentioned that the Arc B580 is $250. Why the hell would you buy a 3060 for $300 used, mind you? I'm assuming it's used, maybe new, when you can buy the B580.
Start at 1080p, where AMD and Nvidia are more than happy to gouge you for the luxury of being able to play. First up, Night City. In Cyberpunk, the B580 makes an impressive debut, running neck and neck.
Look at this shit. This is a $250 video card that's competing with the 4060 Ti in Cyberpunk. This is 1080p, ultra settings, so ray tracing is off on this. But look at this. And then the 6700 is creating blows with the 6700 and the 4060 Ti. And if we go look right now, what does the 4060 Ti cost us? Let's clear this start new. We'll go here. If we go look at video cards and try to look up a 4060 Ti, what's the cheapest we get? This is 8 gigs of memory for $389. To get to the 16 gig model, $450. $450. 6700, where's that trading at? What's the value right now? 6700 XT. I mean, this is because there's none left in stock, but they want $500 for that. 7700 is $399, obviously. But like a 7600, which is $250. I said $280 earlier. They're actually on a $250. We're going back to this.
Neck with the 4060 Ti 16 gig, a card that retails for $450. You heard me, this one is 80% more expensive. And check out the B580's direct competition, the $300 4060 and the $250 RX 7600.
This is
They're
wild.
behind by nearly 15%. And Intel's lead increases in Red Dead Redemption 2, where their improvements to Vulkan support have lifted the fortunes of even their last generation.
I mean, look at this. It's 1080p Red Dead Redemption 2, a very modern AAA title. And you're talking 7700 XT is slightly better than that. And we just looked at that's a $400 video card. The 4060 Ti is $450, and it can't beat it. Now, this goes on, and he continues to talk about the 1080p gaming, but he's going to skip over. We're going to go ahead, and he's going to start talking about the architecture of the card, but also slipping into the 1440p gaming. And we're going to look at the fact that this card still does really well in 1440. And the reason I want to bring that up is a lot of you may be looking to play at a little bit higher resolution. I still wouldn't recommend this for a 4K card, but you really don't have a need to be gaming in 4K anyway. So let's look at the architecture of the card here and see what they have to say about it.
AMG G21 SoC. Interestingly, they don't call it a GPU, leaves no stone unturned in the search for performance improvements. They've jumped to a new process node and made several architectural and driver overhauls that Intel claims gave them a 70% improvement in performance per core and a 50% energy improvement over last gen.
And good on Intel for this, for actually being willing to step back, look at their first shot and their first foray into video cards, and realize that they didn't quite do it right. They needed to make some changes, and they did. And to get this kind of performance uplift generation over generation is good on them.
Which makes
and
me
good
wonder,
for us.
Why did they hold back? If 20 Xe2 cores is good, then 32 cores on a B770 would be better. Speaking of bigger, nearly 37% of Steam users are gaming at a resolution that is greater than 1080p these.
Yeah, and this is why I was getting out of the 1440. So I mean, you look at these numbers, 55% of people are still on 1080p. So it's very relevant that this card is a good 1080p card. 1440p is now making up 20% plus. And then, of course, people are jumping straight into 4K. 4K is starting to pick up some steam. It feels like 2K is going to get skipped over for a lot of people. But if you're a gamer, 2K monitors are phenomenal. 4K gaming, when you're moving around, honestly, it's just not enough of a difference to warrant spending that much more on a setup just to play 4K, in my opinion.
These days, and that number keeps growing as 1440p and 4K monitors continue to come down in price.
And look at this, he's showing a chart of 1440p monitors, right? 60 hertz. And you can get one for 120 hertz, by the way, for the same prices, to be quite honest. But prices are dipping well under 200 now for a 1440. So these monitors aren't out of reach. I mean, you go back just a few years ago, and this was a $400 monitor, $500 monitor in some cases. We're down to $200 now, so very attainable.
So can Intel compete at 1440p as well? The short answer is yes. Across our suite of benchmarks, the B580 overtakes the RX 6700 XT and narrows the gap with the 4060 Ti to just a few percent. As for Intel's promised 10% lead over the 4060, well, it appears they were actually being
yeah, look at this. This is 1440p, higher is better. 7700 is outpacing these, but it should be. It's a $400 card. But look at the 4060 Ti 16 gig. Trading blows with. That's a $450 card. Nvidia, what are you smoking? Lower the prices, Nvidia. I mean, everybody kind of knows these 4060 series. The 60 series card is what should have been a 50 series card, and such and so on. We all know this at this point, though.
Modest. Across our game selection, we found a lead of 20%, though it is worth noting that this will vary depending on game selection. Starting with the famously VRAM-hungry The Last of Us Part 1. Starting with selection,
what is with this?
We found a lead of 20%.
Watch this camera movement. Somebody was having a little bit of fun.
Though it is worth noting that this will vary depending on game selection. Starting with the famously VRAM-hungry The Last of Us Part 1, the B580 holds its position on our chart, embarrassing Nvidia again, with the B580's 1% lows besting the 4060's average FPS. Shadow of the Tomb Raider demonstrates just what an incredible generational leap Intel has pulled off here, and it seems like something about Returnal really likes Intel, because all of our Team Blue cards get a nice little bump in the rankings. I'm kind of running out of ways to say Intel's doing well, so in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, again, look at this. 1440p Red Dead Redemption. 73 frames per second on a $250 video card. It's not going to break your bank. You can build on a budget again, or replace your old card with something modern for an affordable price.
Intel
When's the last time we will say that?
And
he goes on.
There are some caveats. Even Intel.
Okay, this chart. Look at this. This is Intel's chart of speed versus the 4060, and you can see that if we just even ignoring the comparisons, their colors is bright purple, pink, and you have to go all the way down here to Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, where you're still getting 59 frames per second, and all these games to the right on this chart are 60 frames per second or better at 1080p. Or I'm sorry, 1440p. I apologize. So that's pretty cool.
Admits that they don't win in every game, and a motherboard with support for resizable bar is mandatory for Arc GPU.
So that's a little bit important. Make sure that if you're going to upgrade to this card, if you're not building a new system, that you're at least on the Ryzen 3000 and or 10th gen Intel before you do so.
GPUs. And the B580 isn't a top-of-the-line benchmark buster. So if you have a higher tier older card, like a 3060 Ti, you shouldn't feel compelled to upgrade here.
He says 3060 Ti. I don't, it can't be right, can it? Because this is trading blows with the 4060. I guess the 4060 Ti just wasn't that much of an upgrade over the 3060 Ti is what the problem was.
But as far as downsides go, those are pretty minor, and there's more to like than just the raw performance. Let's talk about ray tracing, which is a little more relevant these days all of a sudden than it used to be.
Especially when you consider that games are starting to list ray tracing as a minimum requirement.
Can you believe they did this? That they actually made a game ray tracing required for Indiana Jones. That is wild. But the rest of the requirements are pretty stiff too, so we're going to skip over this because I'm not too worried about.
We didn't have time to develop a
ray
test
tracing.
for our boy in
you shouldn't be looking for.
We've tested.
You shouldn't really be doing a whole lot of ray tracing, I wouldn't think, with this card, but you can, I guess. But you're just going to lose a lot of performance. I mean, look at this.
60 FPS.
Yeah, you're not ray tracing with a card at $250. You're just not. Game compatibility. I think they're going to talk about the fact that obviously there are some games that are still not compatible. Intel is working on that though, and we can listen to what they have to say here.
Title Cyberpunk is, well, we had some Intel problems. It seems to not like running at ultra ray tracing settings on CPUs with 3D V-cache. But before you start haranguing Intel about game compatibility, they are aware and they are working on it. Look, Mom, we made the patch notes. And since the launch of Arc, compatibility has massively improved. Hardware Box recently showed in a test of 250 games that 233 were completely playable. There were still issues, and some of those were in major titles that took a lot longer to fix than we would have liked, but hopefully Intel will continue this upward trend.
So they're going to talk about 4K
now, knowing
gaming.
The price and the 1440p performance numbers,
So again, as we move into this next section about 4K gaming, this is not a 4K gaming GPU. Let's get that out of the way right now. It's not what this is for.
You wouldn't expect this to be a 4K gaming card, and you'd be right. It's not a 4K card. Even in low settings in Cyberpunk, we don't see great frame rates.
At least, not natively. But Intel's got some more tricks up their sleeves.
So now he's going to talk about the what they call the XE2 or XeSS2 frame generation, which is like DLSS for Nvidia. So Intel's putting a lot of effort into making sure that frame gen works really well with their cards. And I think they're opening it up to other GPUs too, such as Nvidia and AMD to use. So this is a good thing that they're continuing this path. So what this is going to let us do, if you're not familiar with frame gen, it lets lesser powered cards generate fake frames, essentially. So every other frame is not a real frame. It's kind of a blend, and that lets the card outperform its price point, essentially. It lets the game look a lot smoother and than it should be for its level. I'm oversimplifying, but
desperate to not completely miss the boat on the AI boom, Intel has packed some juicy AI into the B580 in order to up its performance. Oh, I guess if I'm going to talk about AI, I might as well dress the part with my tech bro vest from LTTstore.com. Intel's AI-powered render enhancement sauce comes in the form of XeSS2. XeSS2 has...
I swear I'm not an LTT shill, but LTTstore.com. I agree. LTTstore.com. I agree. Great screwdriver, by the way. It really is. You just want one of these around the house. For PCs, for fixing things, whatever you gotta do around the house. It's a really good screwdriver. I like it. I'm glad I bought it. So LTTstore.com. Continue, Linus.
Has three main parts: an AI upscaler that renders the game at a lower resolution, then uses AI to upscale to your display resolution; XeSS frame generation, which creates extra frames by interpolating visual and in-game vector data, and then taking the two frames and making a middle point to enhance animation smoothness; and a latency reduction component that helps to cancel out some of the extra latency from the aforementioned frame generation. In fewer words, they've invented Nvidia DLSS, Nvidia FrameGen, and Nvidia Reflex. And what's nice is that unlike the time that AMD invented Nvidia Reflex with Anti-Lag Plus, Intel has implemented this in a way that the game developer bakes it into the game, meaning you won't get permabanned.
That's a nice thing, right? I don't know if y'all remember that happening, but AMD's software, unfortunately, was getting people banned. It was not their intention to do so. They're just trying to make the gameplay smoother. And unfortunately, it came off as being as a cheat. Anyway, so they continue to talk a lot about frame generation. The important thing is that Intel is continuing to pour effort into their software development for these cards. So they need to. What about productivity? Well, let's take a look at how this card can also be used for productivity at an entry level.
While Intel pitched this as a gaming card first and foremost, they did include some other value adds, like their enhanced media engine that now supports more codecs than Nvidia or AMD. In modern AV1 encoding, we can see a clear generational uplift, but Intel can't quite match the speed of Nvidia's NVENC encoder.
That's still pretty solid, though. Again, remember what price points we're talking about. So they're pretty damn close. And for a lesser price, I think you're getting more value for bang for buck here.
And it's worth noting here, by the way, that while AMD does compete on this chart, it does so by outputting the wrong resolution, 1920 by 1082. And
that's
yes,
weird.
That is a hardware level problem.
Oof.
Yikes. In the more ubiquitous H.264, the B580 snatches the crown, although margins are pretty small across the board here. Now, thanks to their optics rendering, Blender sees some good old-fashioned Nvidia domination, at least on the cards that have RT cores. And interestingly, the B580 performed significantly worse than Intel's last-gen cards. Intel told us this is expected, but didn't really go into why. Our best guess then is that it's due to the relatively smaller number.
They just have less cores. What's up, buddy? You come and say hi? What's up? I love you. Yeah, good boy. All right. So as you can see, the point of looking at this video is that it is an affordable GPU that you can build a gaming computer now, or even a productivity computer, without breaking the bank, right? So what can we build for under $700, or, you know, in that price point? He mentioned $450 to $700. Again, if you're trying to push towards the $500 price point, you're going to have to pick up used components. You're going to have to go on somewhere. Let's look at here again. You're going to probably have to go on something like Facebook Marketplace, and you're going to have to search for B550 motherboards, right? You're going to have to go look and see what's available in your area. You might find a good deal. You might not. Remember, we're seeing video motherboards for $100 on PC Part Picker. So it would have to be a really good deal. I'd say somewhere in the $50, $60 range before I would buy a B550 used motherboard. For the 5600, and if I do AMD 5600, let's go AMD and see what's in my area. Let's see if we even see any and what they're charging. Remember, they're down to 117 right now. So this mic here has $100 for a 5600X, but remember, if you buy that, you're gonna have to buy a cooler to go along with it. So yeah, I'm not seeing any that really stand out that made me excited. You know, this is, I guess, not a bad deal. 160 for a 5800X and 32 gigs of memory. That's decent. But you'll have to shop around, and you may be able to find some used parts. But let's go and say you are trying to build a B580 centric computer. Well, first thing we're going to need, of course, is the video card. And if we go try to grab the B580, you're going to find that it's sold out. You can't even find them right now. But let's, for the sake of argument, say you could. And we're going to go ahead and put that price point in there of $250. All right, so we have our video card, $250. And by the way, I'll put the link to this PC Part Picker build in the description of the video, so you can check this out if you'd like. With this build, what I found on a price point basis was that if you look at the 5000 series, it's probably your best bang for your buck right now if you're looking for budget. If you're doing AMD, if you're doing Intel, if we go and look at what's available and change over to Intel to get to that similar price point, trying to find something in that 120 range. There's a 1040F there for 105. Trying to stay under 120. You have it's old 9th generation there. So yeah, it gets really 11.4. Look, here's an 11.4 400F for 108. So you know, you would look to probably build with something like this, 11.4. I don't think you can get 12 400F. Let's just see. No, you can. Okay, 12 400F you can grab as well for 111. So if you're going to build Intel, probably go 1204F. but we're doing AMD right now. So go back to all. Right here, grab the non-X because it has a cooler with it. You don't need a cooler for this GPU, or I'm sorry, the CPU. You just don't. So don't go buy a big cooler for this. Grab a 117, it'll have it. Remember to pick up some thermal paste. I'm not sure that it comes with it. All right, so we can skip over the CPU cooler. Motherboard. You're gonna be able to find $100, $700 cards. Motherboards. You have stuff like this. Like this is a 520. This is a Gigabyte B550. Not a terrible price point for 87, but this is a very nice motherboard for under $100 now. So it's a B550 MSI. It's got all the features you're going to want for this CPU. This is the last generation CPU, so you're not really looking to buy anything high end on motherboards, because again, when this one's done and you're ready to move on, you're not going to be upgrading the CPU in this one, or it's very unlikely you will. So not too worried about spending a lot of money on a motherboard. All right, what about memory? Well, memory, if we're looking for 16 gigs, we can find 16 gigs at this point for, look at this, $26. I mean, it's hard to beat. How about this one? Silicon Power Gaming for $26. Boom. All right. Storage. I like to look for the Crucial Crucial P3. It's a good economical card. Hard drive. 59. Or you can go Silicon Power. I'm not typing it in wrong. Yep, I am typing it in wrong. Silicon. And you can find them right here. Again, this is going to be a 3rd gen. But you can find it like the UD90, $52. So, but I like the Crucial just from a stability standpoint. They're reliable. We know they're reliable. $60. All right. So then you need a case. We don't need a big case or an expensive case. We're on a budget. All right. We want to keep that budget under 700 for sure. We'd like to get closer to 600, but probably, a little over. But okay, so we don't want an expensive case. Let's just set those price performances here and just see what's available. We'll go by price. Look at some of the ratings, see what's, what people have purchased and what stands out to us. All right. And at 59, I believe if I remember correctly, yeah, you can grab it. Look, I know NZXT's got some issues right now with pre-builts. People aren't happy with NZXT, but this is a really good case for $60. It really is. But you don't have to buy that one. You can buy something different. I mean, we have an MSI board. You know what? We're gonna buy an MSI case. $60. Do you have anything cheaper that we may want to grab? 54. I would really like something that's got some fans with it for you, so that you can save a little bit of money on fans. $62. That's not what we just saw, was it? The price is a little bit cheaper. 54. Is there like a coupon? Is what it is? I do. Oh, 54. I guess light new used. It comes with fans though. $62 and 3 fans. That's pretty solid. So yeah, that's a pretty solid price with 3 fans. And it's got decent reviews. So we'll go ahead and grab something like that. Where was it? Talon. Do we have another one? Yeah, right here. $54. Grab it. Power supply. This build has sub 350 watt necessity. We want to probably have a 50% increase in power on that. So anything 500 watts or more is probably safe. So we can go ahead and see what's available. We'll sort it by price. We're going to go ahead and we're not likely going to get a gold. We're probably going to end up with a bronze. We know we're not getting anything over 700 watts. So we'll look what's available and boom, right away, we see a MSI bronze. You can also buy, like, how about this? Thermal take. This one's $50 as well. An extra 50 watts of power. Hey, if we upgrade later, we'll have a little bit more headroom. So we're at $657. That is a really good price if you're looking to build a budget gaming PC right now. That build we just put together is just over $650. I couldn't have told you 2 weeks ago, a month ago, that we could build a computer for you for under $700 that was going to perform at 60 frames per second in a lot of titles. Just wasn't going to happen. So this is a game changer in late 2024 going into 2025. $657. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and make sure we grab this. We'll save it and we'll call it, how about we just call this B580 sub 700 build. And we won't make it private. Save this. Now I can go here and grab the link for you guys. Markup. Where is my markup? All right, I just want to. Anyway, I'll grab this one for you guys and we'll put it in the. Well, why isn't edit the parts list? I don't want to edit it. Oh, if I would just look. See, this is what happens when you don't pay attention. So I'm going to copy this. We'll put this in the video description as well. So if you guys, again, are looking to build a gaming computer on a budget for under 800, under 700, you can do it right now. So if you have some Christmas money or some New Year's money, some income tax money, whatever the case is, and you want to get into PC gaming, it's been a while since there's been this good of a time to do so. So listen, I hope you enjoyed and get to building, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming field.